about Give to the Max Day. I'm here with fellow cast member Jim Robinson. Don't worry, everybody. We're in our own little bubble, just us and our cats. Anyway, so it is Give to the Max Day on November 19th, but as you probably already know, the campaign is opened early because of COVID and all that sort of stuff. So people have up until November 19th to support their favorite causes. And I just want to talk to you for a second about T2P2, the Theater of Public Policy. It's incredibly important to me. I love this show. I love doing the show every week. It's super fun for me. Not only do I want to say, because of that, you ought to support us. But TANE and Destiny asked if I would give you a quick little tour of our studio setup, just so you know exactly how much goes into putting the show together every week. Okay, so don't get too disoriented. I'm going to walk through the house and try not to trip over the cats. And I'm going to take you over here to my home studio. All right, here we are. Well, maybe first of all, I should show you Omelette. This is Omelette. He's standing in the window like a good boy. Anyway, so this is where, quote unquote, the magic happens. Normally, I would be over there with the piano and a second microphone to do a song for you. This is the laptop where we do the video call with everybody, Skype. And over here is the big computer where we broadcast the show from. You'll see right now I'm doing this in the morning. It's only 10:36 in the morning. But that's, we put the little clock here so that you know everything is happening live. And I'm doing this morning because I did want to take this extra second to talk to you about it. And before the show, it might get a little chaotic. And I wanted to get that out of the way. Also here I have Slack, I have messages so that I can communicate with the cast members during the show. And then here I have a little text file where I type in all of the words that might appear during the screen. Like when you guys call in with your questions or when you write in with your questions, I put those on the screen so that everybody knows what we're talking about. But the real magic is right here. An iPad for some sound effects, a microphone for a little voiceover, and this keyboard right here. These are hotkeys to switch from scene to scene, just like on a television production. Right now, this is our little pre-show loop that's running, but I might jump ahead over here and show you what it would look like. There's TANE's screen. Of course, TANE would be there if you were on the call right now, but he is not. And over here, this is what it looks like when we have all the improvisers. It's pretty cool. So anyway, that's the little tour of our setup of the studio. So why did I share this little tour with you? Because I want you to know how much work goes into putting these shows together every week. And TANE and Brandon, they're paying us every week. And normally that money would come from folks like you coming to see us live in the theater. But unfortunately we can't do that right now. So they're just doing this, they're paying us, and the bank accounts might be running down, I don't know. But we really get by on your support. So if you can contribute anything at all, please consider it. Consider T2P2 for Give to the Max Day. Now, you know, of course, I always start these shows with a song. And so I'm going to do one, since I'm holding this camera right now, I'm just going to do a little a cappella one for you right now. I might actually throw on a little bit of reverb and harmony. So here we go. Ready? If you watch the shows we do, you will understand. We talk to folks about policy from all across the land. Today we're talking harmony and reaching out our hands. Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Try to love one another right now. So let's start the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to the cast of the Theater of Public Policy. It's Denzel Beelan, Brandon Boat, Chris Rodriguez, Heather Meyer, and Alexis Camille. And now, coming to you live from the Bryant Lake Bowl, where I'm pretty sure he's the only one there, it's your host for the evening, TANE Danger!
Yay! Hooray! Yay! This is so exciting. Hey, everybody. I am absolutely thrilled to be with you all. My name is TANE Danger. I am the host of this show called the Theater of Public Policy. What do we do on this show? We talk to some very smart people about a big idea or something that's in the news. Today it's both. And then we get all their wisdom, all of their insights, all of their knowledge, and we turn it into improv comedy theater. And so this amazing cast that you just met takes everything that we talk about and makes it into entirely unscripted, on-the-spot comedy theater, and it's delightful and it's wonderful, and we're so glad that you all are here. So, a couple of things to say. Yes, I am here at the beautiful Bryant Lake Bowl in Uptown Minneapolis. Absolutely delighted to be here. I have been doing the show from this theater. Actually, I mean, we've been doing our show from this theater for years. It is our home theater. Normally, we would be in here with a whole crowd of you all, hopefully, in the seats, but we can't do that because of COVID. Thankfully, the Bryant Lake Bowl lets me come in and broadcast live from here, which I do both because it's a cool place to be, but also to remind you that this wonderful theater, restaurant, bowling alley still is here and still needs your support because we want this amazing institution to survive COVID, survive this very turbulent, challenging year. And so the important thing for you all to know is the Bryant Lake Bowl is open for dinner and lunch most days of the week. You can go on their website to find their schedule. You can order food for takeout from them. They also, well, I was about to say they have a back patio, but I'm pretty sure there's like 4 inches of snow coming tomorrow. It's fine. If you're coming, you're a Minnesotan, you can sit in 4 inches of snow and enjoy some delicious turkey burgers. Like, I don't know what you want. Like, if you have to, you could order takeout and bring it home and eat inside. That's fine too. But the important thing is support the Bryant Lake Bowl because we need them to survive this. Also, our other big sponsor, supporter all season long has been my friends at Finnegan's Beer. I love Finnegan's Beer. It is very delicious beer. Tonight I'm actually drinking, this is one of my favorites of theirs. This is the Brim Reaper Rye Indian Pale Ale. It is delicious. So Finnegan's, for folks who don't know, is a wonderful Minneapolis-based brewery. They have a fabulous brewery tap room in downtown Minneapolis. And why I love Finnegan's beyond their amazing, delicious beer is that they donate 100% of their profits to feeding the hungry. And so if you go get a Finnegan's beer, you are A, getting delicious beer, B, supporting a small Minnesota company, and C, helping feed the hungry because every dollar of profit goes to a local food shelf. So you should absolutely be going and buying Finnegan's at your local liquor store or wherever you buy beer. Or here's a little added incentive. If you go to their downtown brewery and you order some growlers to get filled up and you use the code T2P2, that's T as in Tom, number 2, P as in Peter, number 2, you get 20% off of your order because you are friends with the Theater of Public Policy. So it's super cool. It is a great thing to do. And yeah, we love Finnegan's. So thank you so much, Finnegan's. Thank you, Bryant Lake Bowl. And now I am going to jump into our show for this evening because, I don't know, this was really remarkable. You know, last week was a lot. Hopefully people are aware we had an election that took a while to figure out exactly what happened. Some people are still figuring out exactly what happened. But on Saturday night, our president-elect, Joe Biden, came on stage in Delaware and gave a nationally televised address where he really urged all of us as Americans to come together and heal, to find ways to bridge divides, to speak to each other again, as he said, to give each other a chance. And that is a big part of the theme for tonight's show. We have two people who are absolutely brilliant. They are people that 100% inspire me and the work that I do, as well as how I want and hope that the Theater of Public Policy operates, because they're people that help get folks together to talk and to have real meaningful conversations and to heal, hopefully, in a variety of ways. So they are the absolute perfect people for us to be talking with tonight. So first up, she is my friend for a long time. She is a fabulous person in a whole variety of ways that I can't get into. She and I were both Bush Fellows, but she's here tonight as the founder of the organization Sweet Potato Comfort Pie, which we are going to learn all about. But wherever you are, please do a big round of applause for Rose McGee is here. Yes, that's great. Yes, a big wave. And then he is a fabulous human being that started the organization Braver Angels. Originally, you might have heard of it as Better Angels. Today's Braver Angels. In 2016. He is also a professor at the University of Minnesota and has a long history of doing family education work that then he turned into an organization that really focuses on trying to bring people across political divides together in a way that maybe you used to bring families together. And a co-founder of Braver Angels, Dr. Bill Doherty is here. Big round of applause. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here. Rose and Bill, Rose and Bill, I am so excited to talk to you both. I kind of did the setup. President-elect really made the case for this. But I'm actually going to take a step back and ask you sort of this fundamental question to start, which is, we did an election night show. We did an election night show. It was very fun. And it was very good. It was very fun. But this kind of came up, this question of how do we talk to each other? Is, what do how do we talk across divides? And at least one of our guests, why should we talk across these divides? Right? Like maybe these divides. Right? Like maybe we're wasting our time doing that. We're wasting our time doing that. And we should really be putting our energy somewhere else. And so, because I'm wondering, this is work that you both do, if you can even just start by setting the table why you think it's important for us to talk to maybe think differently than we do, have a different identity than we do. Why just engaging with people is something of value. And Bill, I'll start with you if you're willing.
Okay, well, we are Americans. This is our country. Unless people are going to export themselves, we have to live with each other. There is no divorce possible. So we either talk to each other and try to work together, or which is how we've been for some time now. So there is a pragmatic reason. We are here. We have to find out a philosophical reason that if we call ourselves to our best natures, we can try to reach out across this political difference.
How do you think about this?
Well, I think we need to understand what it is that we can talk about together. A lot of people don't know what it is that they should be saying. And then there are some people who think they know what they should be saying. They really should shut up. So how do you get people to understand? And that's the piece where it's important to find some commonality, because if we're kind of at a loss for what to say because we don't want to be offended, or if we don't want to be attacked or feeling that it's really tough. So finding commonality, finding something that you can sort of step together to begin with that you have in common is one way of doing it. And I'll talk more about that later.
Okay. Well, this is a great segue into me asking you both to talk a little bit more about each of you do, because it's different, but it shares a lot of things, and I think that they both offer us different ways of hopefully learning and engaging with each other. So a little bit about the Braver Angels story and just what your work looks like on the ground.
Sure. So Braver Angels is national, nonpartisan. We got started after the 2016 election, when on a whim, we brought together 10 Hillary Clinton voters and 10 Donald Trump voters for 13 hours over a weekend in Southwest Ohio. to try to understand each other beyond stereotypes and find common ground, as Rose talked about. It was wildly successful. And bang, we started from there. So our mission, we say we're reds and blues together. Leadership is half red, half blue, trying to help people bridge, understanding each other, again, beyond stereotypes, finding common ground, and trying to build a house united. And we've had 1,000 workshops, and we're in all 50 states now.
And just to ask you to say a little bit more, I mean, your workshops are very deliberately designed, right? Like, it's not just sort of, we're going to shove all these people in a room together. You walk people through sort of a process to each other.
Yeah, so this is our red-blue workshop. It's either 3 hours or 7 hours. And it's very carefully designed to encourage listening, speaking for oneself, not characterizing the other side, so that people have a different kind of experience. So it's tightly structured. It's a difference. You just can't, throw red meat on the floor and say, why don't you all, compete over it?
Yeah. Rose, I saved you to go second because you have this you have this ace in the hole, which is that you do this really good work and you involve pie in it. And so can you tell us a little bit about sweet potato comfort pie, what you do and why pie is important?
Well, I have to show mine before you show your surprise. I mean, this is it. This is it. This is what we call the sweet potato comfort pie. And we consider it to be a catalyst for caring. Oh, it smells good too. A catalyst for caring and building community. So we have to really emphasize to people that we're more than just a pretty pie. We are about what Bill said, listening. Listening is so important. And we bring people together in story circle, because that's a process that I use. And we have people in a position now where they're being authentic. They're telling their story in a way that comes from their heart. That's why we have the hearts on top of the pies. So in addition to the pies being made, when we want to gift them, they're being made by volunteers. And then we give them in catastrophic events or celebratory events, whatever it is that we're acknowledging. Sadly, it's been more around catastrophic events. So when these pies are gifted, we're able to experience several things. People who are making the pies, they're growing in relationship as they're making the pies. People who are making a decision to give this pie to someone, there is that intentionality around that. And then people who receive the pie and the honor and the specialness that they feel in receiving it. And then we bring people back after they've gone out and they've done this. Over Martin Luther King weekend is when we do it in a broader fashion. We make the number of pies that Dr. King's age would have been. So in 2020, we made 91 pies. So then about 3 weeks later, we bring people back to do reflections and share. Okay, what was that like? What kind of change took place within your own personalities, within your own homes, within your own communities? And we're able to hear the impact of giving the pies and also receiving the pies, what it made.
That is beautiful. And so to just outline this again for folks, you have some dates like around Martin Luther King weekend, but then also, and this is when I've really seen you, is like something happens in a place. Like we were talking before the show, as Minneapolis was experiencing an uprising this summer following the murder of George Floyd, you and your volunteers were out there making pies, delivering them to people, and then using that as, well, how do you talk about it? Using that as what?
Yeah, we use that as an expression of caring, as an expression of, we're here. We're here. And what can we do to make you feel better right now? And what does that mean? What does that even mean? So we made pies. I went online because it was COVID for one thing. So I couldn't just go out to a kitchen and like we normally do and have all of these volunteers come in. In addition to that, we were in a curfew. And I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just sit up all night like I decided to do and do nothing. So I went online on Facebook and said, all right, I'm going to make sweet potato pies tonight. Who'd like to join me? Go and get my recipe and have your ingredients ready, and we'll start. I was surprised at the number of people that showed up. So there I was on Facebook Live making pies, and people are putting their comments in. And then I said, all right, let's come back in about 2.5 hours. Let's see your pies. And 2.5 hours later, people were back. And then I said, those of you who'd like to join me tomorrow, I'm going to go up to the memorial site and also going over to North Minneapolis, where the NAACP headquarters site is, and we're going to give these pies away. And that's what we did. I looked outside my window and there was a line of cars sitting out there. And so we caravanned over and we shared pies to the volunteers. And we don't just go up and say, here, take a pie, but we explain who we are and what we've done, because we have to establish trust. And that's another thing that has to come out of all of what we're talking about right now. Trust is essential. And asking a person if they would like to take a pie and for them to say yes or no, that's very critical. That's such an important part of establishing and bridging that connection, that gap. Because when we're trying to negotiate into what is trust building and we're trying to establish this relationship so we can work together moving forward, we've got to start at a common place.
That is beautiful. Bill, I'd love to talk a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, for both of you, what do these conversations actually end up sounding like or looking like? And I can imagine a lot of people maybe having a very negative initial notion of what this might look like. But so, Bill, when you do these workshops where you bring reds and blues together, what does it end up sounding like? Is it Thanksgiving or is it something different?
I'll give you an example of one of these group activities. It's called a fishbowl, where, so let's say there's 7 reds, 7 blues. You flip a coin. One group is going to be in the middle. This is pre-COVID, but now we do it online. So one group is in the middle having a conversation. The other group is on the outside circle. And your job on the outside circle is to listen to these folks talk and try to learn how they experience the world and to see if you have anything in common with them. And in the middle, then you flip outside in, inside out. And the 2 questions for the people in the middle, the first one is, why are your side's values and policies good for the country? So do your best stuff. Why is conservatism, why is liberal, why is this good for the country? And then the second question is, what are your reservations or concerns about your own side? What are your reservations or concerns about your own side? And that's a call to humility, which doesn't happen in political conversations. And so what happens is you get to hear people's idealism and you get to hear their concerns, you get to hear the humility. And when both sides land both of those, as they often do, you go, whoa, these folks are not that different from me. They care about the country and they also know they don't have all the answers. So that's an example of an exercise we do.
Rose, one of the pieces that I find so interesting and inspiring about your work, but I also can imagine it being very intimidating for a lot of folks, is that you have folks go out and give these pies to strangers largely, right? Like to people that you haven't met before. And even if we weren't Minnesotan, and Minnesotans, just are naturally very reserved, hesitant people sometimes, that's a bold thing. And so right now, as we're thinking about okay, part of our job is to reach out, is to try and bridge some of these divides, talk, or more importantly, listen to other people. How do you do that with somebody maybe that you don't know very well, right? How do you start with somebody who, maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's somebody that you've seen in the neighborhood or at church or whatever it is, but you don't know them, and that can be, I think, scary for folks sometimes.
It can be. And that's why I tell people to approach according to your comfort level. So you may not, this sweet potato comfort pie is not to intimidate. It's to help build a relationship. So do not spend time going to anyone in a negative frame of mind. You're approaching people in and I call it a subservient way, because you're taking yourself to an individual and you're asking them if they would like to accept this pie and explain to them why and what this pie is about. That's how it's done. And if a person says no, which rarely a person does, but periodically they do, but if someone says no, respect that and don't spend your time trying to convince them. Just say, all right, I fully understand. Thank you, and leave. And it's interesting, I've had situations, I kid you not, where once upon a time, people were not interested in the pies. Now I have these same people and same organization coming forth and asking if they can, how can we get involved? How can we do this? Now this is the psyche of how human beings are. And what that says is we really do have to exercise patience, if you will. And nowadays we keep hearing the word grace. We do. We have to exercise a degree of grace when it comes to people. And yes, we may get tired of certain behaviors, but as best we can, just step back from it for a moment and let that be, and you do what you need to do. Be consistent. This is what I tell people when they want to know, well, how can I get involved? Well, whatever it is that you feel your calling is, be consistent with that. Don't just try to be everywhere, trying to do everything. You can't do everything. You can't be involved with everything, but find those things that are common in a way that you're able now to use some of the that what you're learning from over here and bringing it with you over here, and it all intersects. But if you're trying to be all over the place, oftentimes, I mean, that does take a skill. It does take a skill. So I say that to say that in order now, as we're trying to move forward with all of this ammunition that we have to tiptoe over, what is really key is to understand how to be patient with each other and how not to get offended if someone says no.
Yeah, that's power. I mean, as an improviser, I naturally am against the word no, but I understand what you're saying in this context. Just because improv, you have to say yes and to everything. But we are going to open it up for audience questions in the second half of the show for our two guests. And I have a special announcement, which is thanks to you, Rose. Like we have this sort of special giveaway, which is if people ask questions, either by posting them on our YouTube or our Facebook or our Twitter, any of those places, Destiny will find them. And you'll get to hear the answers from Bill or Rose, but also we will randomly select one person who submits a question and we will give them a sweet potato comfort pie. So, ask a question because you have an opportunity to hear great wisdom, and because there is pie behind it. Okay, I have one last question in this first half for both of you, and we are kind of running up against the clock here. But Rose, if we could hear, can you tell us maybe just a little bit, or can you give us an example of like the kinds of things that you hear coming out of one of these experiences, right? Like we heard from Bill about how the political conversations sometimes change once people actually really listen to each other in that. In your work, like what have you seen? Are there experiences that really stand out for you?
Oh, yeah. And I do a process similar to Bill's. Actually, I have a book that I wrote called Stories Circle Stories. And years ago, when I learned this process of putting people in the center and letting them talk, I decided to name it Story Circle Within a Story, or Story Within a Story, Story Circle Within a Story. Yeah. Story Circle Within a Circle, or something like that.
It's very circular. Yeah.
Story Circle Within a Circle. Yeah. And this way, it is amazing because people get to hear, and then you see tears coming. And it always seems to be a white male who will say, I don't know where this is coming from. This just happened last week in one of these circles. And this is virtual, mind you, because we can't meet physically.
Right.
Going into a story circle is it must be authentic. You must go into it genuinely sincere about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. It's sort of hard if you come into it and you have a cynical attitude about it and you're just, I'm just doing this because my boss made me come. You really have to be careful with that, because that energy, it's about the energy that you're projecting. And that's what people feed off in terms of moving forward and the action that we take. So to see white men over the years say, I don't know where this is coming from, because they've shared their story and they didn't know that they were feeling a certain way. We refer to it as pie identity. You know, we have all of these pie phrases. We have pie identity. So as people are beginning to understand their pie identity, and as people are getting to understand that what we call it's in the batter that matters, and you're genuinely doing that, it really does make something inside come up that you leave. It's kind of in Black church. It's like if you got religion, you're going to walk different. You're not going to be the same. So that's what's happening here with these story circles that we lead through Sweet Potato Comfort Pie. People are expected to get this sweetness that comes from somewhere that they may not necessarily have known that they even had.
That is beautiful. Bill, I know that you all, you noted, started after 2016. You all were ramping up for a long time for this election that we just had, knowing that it was going to be a very divisive, very challenging election, and that no matter who won, there was going to be huge parts of the country that were not happy with how it turned out. And so now you all have a huge initiative going on right now. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what you're doing on the ground, literally like this week.
Yeah, it's called With Malice Toward None, from the Lincoln phrase. And we have signed up colleges, religious communities, civic groups, and the self-organizing groups for people who are committing themselves to not demonizing the other side, not to be triumphalistic in victory, nor vengeful in defeat. And thank you, Rose. And I was inspired by you. You're helping me rev up here too. And so it's a process of committing to this attitude and this approach. And then 2 steps. First step is you meet with people who are like-minded to process how you feel about this election, and to see if you can together commit to a process of healing and working together. Then the next stage is you meet with people who are different from you, who voted differently. And I want to say the University of Minnesota has adopted this. And today, the email went out to all the faculty and students. And as of the last time I looked, after 4 hours after the letter, we had over 300 people already signed up for this. So the University of Minnesota is on board with this, I'm happy to say, for us locally.
And just to say, if folks want to do this or participate in this, can they go to the Braver Angels website or?
Yes, go to braverangels.org, look under With Malice Toward None, and you can either try to sign up get your own organization involved, or you can just get together with, 5 or 10 of your friends, and we have a format you can use in order to see if you want to commit yourself to a kind of a new way to do citizenship, which is not a blood sport, but rather really working together across differences.
That is a beautiful note to end on. So I'm going to pause our conversation here. As I said, we are going to bring our 2 guests back in the second half of the show to answer questions from you all at home. If you have a question, please put them into the chat on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, wherever you're watching. We will get them and ask Rose and Bill about them. You also have a chance to win a pie. But right now, what we're going to do is say thank you to Rose and Bill and turn the stage over to the cast of the Theater of Public Policy. As I promised at the top, everything they do is entirely made up on the spot. This is all improv comedy theater, all inspired just by this conversation that we had. I swear to you, none of this is pre-planned. It is all off the top of their head. So please, wherever you are, make a big round of applause for the Theater of Public Policy, everybody.
Hi. Hi. I'm so glad you were able to come to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know it was a little up in the air. Things got a little bit crazy there for a while, and the entire jet explosion thing. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm glad I could make it, Denzel.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of explosions, why don't we have a conversation?
Okay. I'm excited about that. A little bit worried about the inclusion of the explosion in that conversation, but I'm happy to give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing you on the social media, and you've been saying some things, and I've been disagreeing with those things. And I thought maybe if you're trapped here with a turkey, we can talk about it.
Denzel, I think that sounds like a lot of fun. I had something that I wanted to talk to you about now that you mention it, actually. So,
oh, do you?
Yeah.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we can both say something then.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you start? Why don't you?
Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah. I think maybe you're going to the gym too much.
Okay, great. Because I feel like maybe you're actually not going to the gym nearly enough.
Okay, yeah, see, we're agreeing, we're disagreeing.
Okay.
Alexis,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I had something special planned for you, both. But okay, like just close your eyes for just a second. I know it's a little weird, but you gotta trust me. I'm gonna open the doors, and I really think you guys are gonna appreciate this. You didn't ask me for it, but I know you guys are going through a rough time, and okay, open them. I know, right? It's a firefly sanctuary in your living room. It's just like everywhere. This fire, you can like get a jar and you can spend like days just catching fireflies yourselves, and you don't have to like wander in the woods, right?
I love you and I love it.
Yeah? Oh my
I
God.
love it more than I love my husband. This is the exact gift I've wanted him to give me.
Oh, I just remember that time you mentioned that you guys went on that hot springs trip at the Firefly Mountain, and it was, Kevin, can you not, stop, no.
You're just everywhere. I mean, I get the sentiment of the gift. I want to thank you for doing something nice, but...
Stop! Dana, make him stop. I thank you, Dana, for appreciating. Stop it! Kevin, stop!
I love it so much. And you know what, Kevin? Stop it. These fireflies are part of the family now.
Well, you can't wipe them off. You just kind of glow all over your clothes.
I thought you'd really appreciate this. You guys had your car stolen last... Oh, you guys... Yeah, I'm coming in for it, but I just needed to say, like, Kevin, you guys had your car stolen last week, and then somebody stole the light bulbs off of your porch.
Yeah. This is the most thoughtful.
I was trying to be thoughtful. I would have consulted you guys, and I just...
I am a fan.
Thank you so much. Kevin, what is wrong? Why are you making that face?
It's all the fireflies. I smashed them and wiped them on my pants, and now they just keep kind of glowing. It's...
No.
Oh, thank God. I've been looking for you everywhere. I need your help.
I wasn't hiding. I was just being hard to find.
I completely understand. I need to go down to the DMV to get my identification card, but by card, yes.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Last week we had to go down so you get your pastry port.
Yep.
Now we need your pie identification. Honestly, we could make all these trips at once.
I completely understand, but I didn't think about it nearly fast enough last week, so now I'm kind of in a little bit of a pickle.
Okay, I get what we're doing here, but you know what? There's some things we can do, and there's some things we can't do.
I don't understand.
We can't just always be rushing around for all of these things when really sometimes we just need to sit in a windowsill to cool.
Oh, I am starting to understand.
Wow.
You really know how to connect with me at a deep and soulful level. And
We need each other.
you're like a pie and a windowsill, except I'm the pie and you're the cool breeze of. I lost the.
I get.
And thank you so much for joining us back with MPR Minnesota Pie Radio. I am Tom Cranberry, and this is All Things Considered.
Hi, I'm Johnny Turkey. I'm going to be taking your calls today with Mr. Cranberry. We're here to talk about what you're going to be eating and getting together with this holiday break.
Yes, and I believe we have our first caller on the line right now.
Hi, this is Deborah, first-time caller, long-time listener. I've always wanted to say that. Hey, thank you so much for taking my call. You know, so I have this Turkey Day coming up with my family here. And, you know, we've got some unfinished business. There's been this big election, a lot of different points of views. And I wasn't sure really how to bring everybody to the table and keep things, you know, civil, you know. So I was wondering, do you marinate your turkey, maybe brine it, or do you use a hot smoker in the backyard, or maybe deep fry it? I don't know which of those will bring everybody together better. Thanks for taking my call, Val. Thank you.
Wonderful. It's nice to hear from you. Now, Mr. Turkey, I feel like we were just talking about something earlier about this, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
We talked about how everyone needs a particular food. And what that last caller was talking about is it's not really about the turkey. It's about so much more. And in my case, I use the metaphor of celery. You know, I just think it is a great tool for bringing everyone together. So just getting involved and working and meeting each other where they're at.
Yes. I was actually thinking for the caller, for our listener, if they had tried the fishbowl method of preparing their turkey. For me, it has brought a lot of people to the table. The fishbowl method is you get 4 people who agree on one turkey method, and they cook the turkey. And then other people who have differing methods watch them cook the turkey. And then they talk about, the people who are cooking the turkey, why they like that turkey method, but also what might be holding them back from a different, more flavorful turkey, right? Is it too saturated? Is it too crispy? And I think it just really brings everything together.
Mr. Cranberry, are you saying when your family gets together, you eat 4 different turkeys? Maybe one smoked, deep fried, brined, dry rubbed.
If you're not having multiple turkeys in the household, you'll only have a mono turkey dinner.
I know we have a lot of things in common.
Prove it.
Name one.
Well, all of us disagree with each other. That's one.
Oh, wow.
Don't make me agree with that, but okay.
Okay, well,
I've been defeated, so I'm going to go ahead and demonize you very quickly. I'm actually just going to draw some little horns right here. So don't mind me.
Yep. I'm going straight defense mode. All the way, arms crossed and like everything. I'm not even really trying to hear what you're going to say. Because I'm certain.
I'm gonna double down with thinking that I'm right. So I still think we have a lot in common.
I don't know where you're going with that, and I'm assuming you meant to offend me. And so basically, I metaphorically or literally have my fingers in my ears. That's where I'm going with that. So la 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 la.
Also, just as a heads up, I'm the best listener here, so I'm just letting you all know that I've listened harder than any of you demon people. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. I was preparing what I was going to say next to push my point, which is that you guys are just rude and don't respect me. And now I'm putting up my boundaries, which is just going to be a hard wall.
Cool. I feel like I lost that one, so I'm gonna go ahead and just demonize you as well. I'm just gonna put little demon hairs there. There you go. Perfect.
I'm gonna just keep making disapproving faces because I'm feeling like I'm still right because I want to be right. Therefore, I'm never gonna let myself not be right.
Oh, fine. I'm just gonna break into tears so that so I don't really actually have to be vulnerable right now. And I'm just gonna cry because whatever. I don't actually know. It doesn't even.
I think I might actually cry too. Now that I think about it.
That's making me cry.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the cast of the Theater of Public Policy. Now, please welcome back to the virtual stage your host for this evening, TANE Danger.
Oh, I don't know why it's so funny. It's very funny. There's so many tears. It's great. So, hey everyone, I'm TANE Danger. This is the Theater of Public Policy. We are talking to two brilliant folks about how do we talk to each other anymore? How do we bridge divides? How do we reach out to folks across a political spectrum and identity spectrum, across different ways of seeing the world? And I am super happy to have with us Rose McGee of Sweet Potato Comfort Pie and Bill Doherty of Braver Angels here with us. And we have gotten questions just absolutely pouring in. So I'm going to ask some of them now. So we've got a question from Mike, which asks about how could your approach grow on a national level? And I think that this part is specifically meant for Bill. He asks, like, could you do this with members of Congress, which I think maybe you have. And actually, though, I really want to ask Rose this same question in a second because I like the idea of members of Congress baking for each other. But Bill, I think you actually have done some work with congressional leaders.
Yeah, we've done some work with Minnesota legislators. We've done work with congressional staffers. And last week, it was an interview, not a workshop, but I interviewed two members of Congress, a Republican and a Democrat. So we're starting to get some interest at that level.
And is it the same? Does it look any different or?
Well, the congressional staffers one we did was really like a regular workshop. That was a full out workshop. What we've done with legislators is skills workshops. And with the two members of Congress, it was an interview with malice toward none. But so we're gradually working our way into that world.
I wonder if there's an added challenge in working with folks who do politics as a job, because they might say, oh, yeah, no, I can totally see how those folks on the other side believe that. And, I empathize with them even. I can see myself in them. And it's my job to beat them. And maybe that adds like a layer of making it so that it's harder to then find some of that ground where you could do something together.
Yeah, so we don't bring people together who are competing for the same office. Okay, we bring together people who are not running against each other. But part of what Rose said about these circles, what we've done with like congressional staffers, is they first begin by telling their stories, Rose. We ask what life experiences have influenced you to go into, public policy. What experiences? Tell your story. And they each get 4 minutes to tell their story and to listen to each other. So that's how we start with those folks. It sounded very much like your story circle, Rose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Rose, actually, this same Mike just added a second question where he says, Rose, I think sharing a piece of pie with members of the Minnesota Senate would help them reach across the aisle. What do you think?
I totally agree. And actually, one of the representatives made an attempt to do that after Mr. George Floyd's murder. But the feedback she got back, the resistance was COVID and people not being comfortable. But there are ways in which to do that. We've learned now that you can just do so many things with the process that we're on, going virtual. It can happen. People can make those pies right there at home, or we can set up situations where, or stations rather, where it's a social distance form of baking, and you can't bring in as many people, but you bring in enough who can get the pies made, but then everyone still has an opportunity to get them out, to gift them. I wanted to say we've done several pie baking kinds of things with police officers as well. After the bombing in Mogadishu, you remember a couple of years ago, lots of Somali people right here in the communities were deeply impacted by that. So the St. Louis Park Police Department decided they wanted to do a sweet potato comfort pie project. The police officers made the pies and then gifted them in the community with the Somali community as a way of saying, here, we really do care about you as our community. We've watched situations where we bake pies in St. Paul at the Minnesota Humanities Center where I work, and we had police officers who were right there with young people. Actually, a group of young Black males came over from North Minneapolis, and they were baking those pies right there in the kitchen together. And to see that relationship just, blend was really a very powerful thing.
That is, and that leads to, there was a question here that I feel like you were just addressing, but Paul says that they want to know more about how sweet potato comfort pie, the work that you do, helps bridge divides, how exactly it really brings people together.
Yeah, and that's one of those examples. And like I said earlier, there's so many layers to this. You're watching people make pies together, coming together, putting those ingredients, relying on each other to pour those ingredients in. And that's one way of people coming together. That's why if these senators and everybody else are making pies together, the ingredients going in is a process. It's metaphorically, it's exactly what we're trying to get everyone to do outside here, right? We want people to be respectful of the ingredients that go into creating the product that is going to benefit everyone. Just having the milk won't work, just having the eggs won't work, but when you're bringing all of these things together collectively, and that's why when we're baking pies, I have people be responsible for this particular ingredient, that particular ingredient, that particular ingredient, and when it's time now for you to bring it in, you put it in. It's orchestrated in that way. And then the pies, I love the way they said it's got to sit and cool. That's so true. It does. A sweet potato pie, you don't just take it out of an oven and serve it, because it does have to sit so that it can set. And when that firms up, then it's a nice slice. But if you just bring it out and start slicing, it's just going to be runny, and you have a mess. And that's exactly what we're seeing in so many situations as well.
There's a question here for sort of both of you, but I'll start with Bill. About people want to know more about what the prompts are that you give folks to start talking about some of these things. And you've offered at least one or two of them, but can you say more, Bill, first, and then we'll go to Rose, about when you're sparking some of these conversations, what are some of the questions that you ask people to talk about?
Well, in the red blue workshop, actually, we start with a very powerful question. Each group is asked separately, what are the most common false, negative, exaggerated stereotypes of your side? What do people say about you and your side that is exaggerated, false, and misleading? And each side separately in a separate room comes up with those. They vote on their top 4. And then they answer 2 questions. What's true instead? So if the other side thinks you're racist, the other side thinks you hate America, what is true instead? And then the second question is there some truth is there kernel truth in the stereotype? And that's the exercise in humility. So they have those separate conversations, and then they come together and somebody shares, this is what we think people think of us that's wrong, blah, blah, blah. Here's how we see ourselves, but maybe there's a kernel of truth in that. And so when they exercise that humility, then they begin to talk about what they've learned from the other side, what they see in common. So that's how that Red Blue workshop, that is how we begin. I mean, after we ask people why they came and we have ground rules, we just put out all of the worst, nasty stuff you could imagine, but people say it like that's what they think of us. So it's all out there. And then here's how we see ourselves, and here's what we're not so sure about our side. And when they can nail that, it's like a ice skater. That's the double axle. When you can own that there's some stuff you don't like in your own side, bang, it's just powerful.
And that's exactly what is really key as we do our work too. We're interested first in starting with yourself, and that's why we call it Pi Identity. We want you to first start looking at you, not somebody else. And when you speak, we want you to talk in response to you. So when did you become aware that there was a difference, whatever that means? When was it that reality set in for you? After you became aware of this, what was it that you decided that you wanted to do about it? And this is where people get real anxious and not knowing how and what. And that's when sometimes the tears will start that early. And sometimes it takes a few more steps before the tears. Because again, if you're really looking at yourself and not being so concerned about what you're ready to accuse others of doing, but starting with self, and then we progress to that in terms of what you'd like to see others do. But right now, what do you want to do? What can you do?
That is a fabulous transition into kind of the last piece that I want to ask you both about, although it's a big piece, and we got a question on it. It was a big piece of why I wanted to have you both here. So we got a question, I don't know who it's from, but it says, heading into the holidays, are there specific communication tools folks can take away, keep in mind, as they're talking to relatives, friends, whoever it may be, who have wildly different opinions than they do on the election or on a variety of things? So this is the sort of, probably Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah and everything is going to be weird this year because of COVID. But a lot of us will still be in spaces with folks that maybe we don't see that often. And I think a lot of us are wondering, okay, I want to go home or I want to be on Zoom or whatever it is with my family. I want to have a conversation with them. And I want it to be like a real conversation. I don't want to just talk about the weather for 4 hours. Both because that's painful and boring and because there's more important things to talk about. So how do we get into talking about something that is real and important and substantive and do it in a way where people feel, good about it, or at least we aren't shouting, maybe? And Rose, maybe I'll start with you.
Well, we use the talking piece, which perhaps you do as well, Bill. And I always like to use a talking piece that has some sort of relevance to whatever the occasion is. So it could be a sweet potato, just hold one back. Since everybody's going to be making sweet potato pie this year, just hold one of those sweet potatoes back that's uncooked, and that can be your talking piece. If you really want to get more choicey about it, just have a drumstick, then fine, from a turkey leg, whatever you feel like holding as a talking piece. But the idea is to set those ground rules up front that we're going to talk. And, you heard Bill say that those individuals speak for 4 minutes. You set a timeline for everybody to speak, and they're not to be interrupted. Now, that's the part that gets to be a challenge. You're going to allow someone to speak, and they're not going to be interrupted. You're going to hear them talk, and you're going to want to jump in there, but the guideline has already been established. Allow that person to say what they want to say without interruption. And then you move off to the left, because that's the side the heart is on. And that's just a cultural practice as well, indicating that what you're going to say is authentically yours. So whoever spoke first, then you'd move off to that person's left. If that person sitting there isn't quite ready to speak, just say, I pass, and keep moving on. But before it's over, you always go back and ask. For those who chose to pass earlier, do you have something to say now?
I was just going to ask, and like, as you're with that, is there a prompt or is there something that you would suggest folks might ask?
Yes, and this is what I really would encourage. There is no point in bringing up the topic of the election when you know you've got people in your presence that everybody's not on the same page. Badly. It's one thing if people are softly, okay, but if you know that this is going to wreck the time, then stay away from it. So you set these guidelines up of what it is that we're going to talk about. I've been practicing it actually yesterday and today, because Sunday, I was in a meeting as well as this morning. And I said, I want everyone to share your greatest exhale. And of course, everybody is getting ready to talk about, what they're going to ready to talk about, right? And I said, except I don't want it to have anything to do with the election. And everybody was like, oh, now what am I going to talk about? But it's amazing how much people were able to talk about. They were able to dig and talk about the beautiful things that they did this weekend, or how great it was to be able to do this and to do that and to do that. So I would say start on neutral ground of you're here because you love each other, your family, your friends. Start there and stay there. And then, when the time feels right, if you feel so, and this is a guideline that needs to be established up front too. And that way, people won't be throwing the mashed potatoes and the sweet potato pies at each other. And if they do, all right, make sure that you've set it up that if we throw these pies and things, we're still going to make up after today. And that's going to be the case anyway. You're never going to agree on it. But there's no point in anybody coming to the table expecting magic to happen just because you think it should right away. I don't think that is going to happen. So just find a way to use prompts that everyone can reflect on. It can be about family. It can be anything that really does connect you.
Bill, thank you, Rose. Bill, are there specific tools, strategies that you advise folks, either with your work with Braver Angels or as a family therapist, can advise?
Rose talked about what you could do with a family group. So I'd like to talk about what you can do one-on-one if you want to talk about politics. And so there's a couple things I want to say is turn off your correction system, the part of your brain that says what's going to happen here is I'm going to correct you, I'm going to enlighten you. Okay, you're wrong, and so I'm going to help you see the light. And then the second thing is turn off your internal alarm system, which is the other person says something, and at that point I think they're running the country, right? And that they're going to do massive harm by this thing. So your correction system and your alarm system, and instead try to be curious about what they think and why they think and what's the story behind it. I've got relatives from all over the country, and when we get together in this pre-COVID era, I try to go in with some curiosity. So my relatives from Texas, I say, so what are people saying about Trump nowadays in Texas? I want to hear, okay? And so I go into it and with a sense of I want to hear something. I'm not there to correct anybody. I'm not there to say how outraged I am. This person is not the president, or this person is not AOC. They are my relative. And then listen first, acknowledge what you've heard, and then try saying what you think with I statements. This is how I see it. So here, where you're coming from, this part of it, I get that. Here's where I'm coming from. But the biggest thing is the attitudinal, because in families, we have trouble tolerating that this loved one has these wrong-headed ideas that are hurting the country. So we say in Braver Angels, in a family situation, the prime directive: do not try to change a family member. Do not try to change a family member. You can only change yourself.
That is fabulous. I cannot say thank you enough to the two of you. Rose McGee. Oh yeah, Rose, go ahead.
I need to say this. I would be remiss not to make an announcement, if I may. Minnesota Humanities is leading conversations. I work for Minnesota Humanities, called How Can We Breathe? And this came about, this series of conversations evolved after the murder of George Floyd. So we began with How Can We Breathe? It was the mamas, and we did that one in August. So these were women who had lost their children to either at the hand of police violence or other violence. And then in October, we did How Can We Breathe? The Elders and Youth. And last week we did How Can We Breathe? The Artists and Meaning Makers. The one coming up, our final one, will be December 3rd. How Can We Breathe? The Policy and Change Makers. So each one of these features people who are doing what they do, but where does the whole issue of systemic racism, how does it play out in each of these things that they're doing, as you've heard from the titles? So we encourage people to register. Just go to the Minnesota Humanities website and find the registration for How Can We Breathe? The Policy and Change Makers.
I thank you so much for sharing that. And we will make sure that there is a link below for everybody who's watching to the Minnesota Humanities Center, so you can check in on that. That is super important, and I'm so glad you brought it up. The only thing, it makes it hard for me to do this weird transition now where I wanted to show off the sweet potato pie that I made in honor of tonight's show, this is my first ever sweet potato.
Hold that up, I gotta get photo.
Okay, so I'm going to hold this up real quick while Rose takes a picture. Rose McGee, Bill Doherty, you both are, I'm not joking when I say you both are an inspiration to me, and I really am so grateful that you came and spent this time with us. We are going to turn the stage over one more time to the cast of the Theater of Public Policy. One more time is going to put all of the things that you've said to life through entirely unscripted improv comedy. So, and don't turn off the camera, or don't turn off your Zoom or whatever you're watching on, because at the end of the show, we are going to announce who is going to get the free sweet potato pie from who announced something. So with that, make a round of applause for the Theater of Public Policy.
Hey, Brett. So I finished the thing. I went and built the bridge over the gap using nothing but pies, though I'm not entirely sure why you asked me to do that.
Mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't hear a thing you're saying. It's like you're 1,000 miles away for some reason.
I'm so sorry. I mean, that was part of the step. I'm glad that you passed.
Okay.
But what I meant to say is it's a process. It's not actually about the pies or the fridge.
Okay. I appreciate that, but it was a lot of work to get that many pies. I've been baking for literally weeks, and the refrigeration costs alone were actually a lot of my retirement. So could we not is there maybe like an easier way we could have done that, or maybe I don't understand the lesson?
I think you're sitting with the lesson right now. See, something that I've learned is I can't try and change you. When I gave you that task, I knew that you're probably not going to learn anything from it. It's more, I need to get better at giving people meaning and purpose, and not just giving them assignments that spend all their free time and raise their kilowatt hours. It's more about me when you were doing all of those things.
Oh, okay. Great. Good. I'm glad for you, I think. But I feel someone's trying to use that bridge now, I think, and I'm not a structural engineer, and that's not a great thing. So I feel like maybe we could have maybe not done that. Maybe taught me. I paid you a lot of money for this, Brandon.
I'm just going to be honest. I'm not a good listener, and so
Okay.
I've kind of missed a lot of that.
Okay.
Hello and welcome back to Minnesota Pie Radio. Again, I am Tom Cranberry, and today I decided to reach across and go upstairs, and I've invited my friend, Banana Wiggle, producer for the current. Banana, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. I'm so glad to be a guest host with you here today. Wow, this is something special, completely unexpected.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you because as people know that we do different things here at Minnesota Pie Radio.
Yeah.
We keep you up to date with pie-related news and you play alternative pie music.
Absolutely. Some people like to play the spoons. I like to play pies.
I love that.
That sounds tricky out there, listeners, but I mean, you can really get into it. Now, this is unconventional, but I just want you to imagine after you've baked your pies, they're warm, they're cooling. All you got to do is go. I just want you to smack the top of the pies. Really, it's actually it's relieving, it's cathartic, and it just each pie you will find makes a different sound.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Here in Minnesota Pie Radio News, we usually take a different approach to our pie-ness, right? I think as you smack the pie, we investigate the pie and look into the pie in a deeper way. But it's been really interesting. Maybe we should liven up a little and smack the pie, and then maybe we can get a younger audience to listen to us.
Heather,
Brandon.
I want to say that our relationship, we can save it. We don't have to be enemies.
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Enemies, Brandon.
It's possible. Heather, you know Jim?
Yeah.
You know that he and I hate each other.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this.
Look at that enemy.
Here we are. We're friends.
You hate each other and you're holding a gourd.
I want to tell you a little something about two people that came into my life and changed everything.
Am I one of them?
No.
Oh, well.
I'm sorry. But they want to help us too. I'm going to tell you a little story about someone named Rose and a little story about someone named Bill.
Are they your parents?
No, they're not my parents.
You know what, Brandon? This story's taken a long time, and I've got a pie that I cannot figure out how to bake because Tom Cranberry keeps giving me different directions.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Look, I'm just not to interrupt y'all kids while y'all talking and nothing like that. But I have this mutton leg here that I'm just gonna pass on to you. And this mutton leg here, we're gonna use that as kind of like a talking stick. We're just gonna call it the talking mutton leg. All right, right now Brandon has the mutton leg, Heather.
Okay.
Brandon, the mutton leg.
Okay.
All right, y'all get back to your little conversation. I'm gonna go make lemonade.
Thank you.
Heather, who is the mutton leg?
I see it. I see the mutton leg.
Any story that's long is worth telling. That's something that Bill told me about, and Rose seconded him. I mean, I think she agreed with him. She didn't have the talking stick at the time, but she kind of nodded affirmatively. So I'm pretty sure. But anyway, Heather, you just got to learn. There's magic at every table.
I know. I'm not talking, even though I don't have the leg. I love Rose and Bill. I thought you were telling me a story about people that I don't know. That this was like a fantastical journey on why you and Jim are holding a gourd in a picture.
Oh, that's right. You're in the show too, so you heard them talking.
Give me that mutton leg.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the cast of the Theater of Public Policy. Now, please welcome back to the virtual stage your host for this evening, TANE Danger.
Hey, that was great, everybody. I thank you so much, everybody who is watching tonight. This has been an absolutely fabulous evening. I am so grateful that you all were here with us. I'm going to say one more time a big thank you to all of you at home, as well as the Bryant Lake Bowl for supporting and making sure that this we can keep doing this show from here. You should support them. Also, Finnegan's Beer. Go get some Finnegan's Beer. And then this is the part. I am bad at the business piece of this, which is that the Theater of Public Policy, as Dennis made the case for at the very top of the show, is supported entirely by your donations these days. We used to be able to fill the theater and have folks come and buy tickets, and now it is 100% really supported by you all making donations and contributions. And we are doing a big fundraising campaign, so if you have the capacity, make a donation. All of the links to do so are in our things below. You can find them, click on them. $15, $50, $100, whatever you can do really makes a difference and helps us keep this show and this project going. Okay, with that, thank you. And I'm going to say one more time, our cast for this evening, absolutely delightful. I'm going to do them in reverse order. So a big thank you. Big Alexis Camille's down here. Denzel Beelan is eating a pie, maybe? I don't know. That's good. And then Heather Meyer has 2 cats on a stick. Chris Rodriguez is above me with some sort of rodent on his shoulder. Brandon Boats has a ukulele, which is amazing. And then there is our 2 fabulous guests. Wherever you are, please do a big round of applause for them. Rose McGee, Bill Doherty, thank you both so much. Please go wherever you are, look up Sweet Potato Comfort Pie, look up Braver Angels, get involved with them. And then I have the final and most important, not most important, but important duty of giving away a sweet potato pie, which is not this sweet potato pie, because I baked this one and I'm going to give it to someone. But it is a sweet potato pie donated by Rose McGee, and it is going to, drum roll, Paula Bacon! Yay! Big round of applause for Paula! Yay! Congratulations, Paula! Enjoy your pie. It's delicious, I assure you. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your night. And thank you so much to Dennis Curley, who really does so much work to make these things work. So you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Go reach out to somebody across some sort of divide. Make a connection. Be humble, be kind, and take care of each other. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your night. Good night, everybody. Yay!